Hello everybody! Today I want to talk a little bit about Perseval. This was a paper that my research advisor sent me some days ago. It has some cool concepts that I want to talk about. It is basically a framework for perspectivist classification evaluation, as you can see here on the paper. And I want to see the results also and what this brings to the table. So, let's go. The first thing I need to do is give you some context about majority voting. Let's say we have some classification tasks like hate speech, irony detection, questions and answers, and others. We need to send this data to annotators. Annotators will be people from around the world that will see the hate speech, try to label it, see the questions and try to answer, okay? Then, after they retrieve all this data, we need to pick the most frequent label or answer for each of the questions, each of the instances of hate speech. This is the idea of majority voting. But this idea causes some problems. It reduces the fairness of the annotations towards minorities. A good example of this is a dataset of hate speech towards women, but only 20% of the dataset of the annotator, is composed of women. This will cause the reduction in fairness. And research nowadays is trying to solve this with perspectivism, is keeping the context of the person that annotated and of the user, of users and annotators, to have a more fair selection of answers. Okay, let's say if you ask someone from India if they want to eat cow meat, red meat, they will not like the idea because for them cow is a sacred thing. For someone of the USA, it's okay. So they have different perspectives, but both of them are still true. So we need to keep both perspectives because both are correct based on the context of the person that is annotating or using the service, and we need to keep both answers as true. That's the idea behind perspectivism. So we need to keep the context of the users or annotators to have a more fair selection of answers and not just pick the most frequent one. So it's basically understanding that different people may diverge in opinion, but both can still be correct. Okay? It's about having different perspectives in our models. This is extremely important in tests like irony detection, hate speech detection, and other tasks of natural language processing, because then you can have the context about the person that is saying something and understand, maybe in Australia this could be irony, maybe in USA this is not, okay? So that's the idea behind perspectivism. So Perseval uses some instances of text and annotator or text user. This is a bit different from common natural language processing methodologies. It also has some data splits. I will not go deep into these data splits, but it's really interesting to see the adaptation it needs to do in some cases. And then how the users are represented. We have two types of representation for users. It's the named and unnamed. I have a bit of information of how they are represented here, but basically the named one will use some traits, some metadata about the user or the annotator, okay? We have, like, for me, we would have white, Gen Z, Brazil, okay? This is some metadata about me, or better, a context about me. We then use this context to make our predictions a little bit better, okay? We also have the unnamed here that uses just some ID for annotators or users. We also have some information about the extended training set here. It's basically, well, I have two texts that are equal, but they are annotated by different persons. If they are annotated by different persons and I am using the extended training set, I can use this text A into the training and this text B in the test, okay? Because they are annotated by different persons, but this only on the extended training set. We also have some evaluation metrics here that mostly is precision, recall, F1, and some others more focused on the user, the text, the trait, like white, Gen Z, etc. So the last section of the paper, it's where they train some models and see the results. They had some really cool results with the encoder based. It was better than the decoder based because obviously you do a fine tuning of a model. Here they use Roberta and they use a focal loss, it's a different loss, a customized loss. And there's the whole process on the paper is better explained. For the decoder based, there's also something that I find really cool and important because they use this perspective approach that is basically just adding the context to the prompt that you send to the AI, ChatGPT, Claude, or any other. And I don't use that every day, but it's basically an enhancement of my prompt for questions that need this enhancement, right? Also, there's the in-prompt augmentation. It's basically doing reg, retrieval augmented generation, I think. And there's the base 0 that is basically a zero shot of the model with no context added, okay? So that was the whole paper. It was pretty cool. I learned a lot about perspectivism, how this eval works, and I hope to keep getting better into perspectivism because this is my research area at the moment. And now I will go a little bit in the results section of the paper, okay? Here we have the results. It's a bit hard to understand what's happening in here because, as I said earlier, they have different approaches for each type of user representation. There's also the type of adaptation here, if they use some in the training or inference, and then we have the metrics that they calculated. The global F1 we can see for each type, each model, each dataset, sorry, not model. And after that, we have also the user F1 for each user, the text F1 for each text, and then the traits. The traits for me were the most cool ones to look at because we can see how the gender, how the nationality, how the generation influenced the result, okay? So this was the whole paper. I hope you like it. If you want to see a little bit more about it, here's the title. Just search for Perseval on the internet. And that's it. See ya!